My next guest is a heavyweight contender from Killcliff FC. You can catch him on the cage on August 18th, where he'll be fighting in the iconic Madison Square Garden when he will be fighting for the PFL for the second time, this time against UK heavyweight Louie Sutherland. He joins me right now, Mr. Daiqwon Buckley. DQ, welcome back. Haven't seen your face in a few months, but here we are again, brother.
Yeah, no, it's been a while, but again, man, thanks for having me. I appreciate that.
Well, first and foremost, before we even get into how you got this opportunity with the PFL, Madison Square Garden, the most
Yeah,
iconic fighters ever have fought here. And here you are, so early in your career, bro, you're going to be fighting in the venue that people only dream about being in, let alone competing in. Like, is that a surreal thing for you to know that you are going to be fighting where some of the most iconic fighters of all time have fought?
yeah, it's definitely unreal. I mean, every day I wake up and you know, that gives me just such the extra push just to be like, you know what, I'm fighting an MSG soon. So yeah, it's exciting and definitely it's a blessing for real. It's definitely a blessing. And I'm so excited to be able to be in that environment that all the greats that have came before me have been. So I'm definitely excited to get in there.
I am excited to see it. The action's going to be happening on August 18th, and I really kind of want to start from square one. Here we are, like the PFL came calling. They gave you this opportunity to compete on the undercard of the playoffs. I mean, Madison Square Garden, a playoff card, like the energy, the atmosphere, that is going to be buzzing. I can understand. I can only imagine how excited you are for this opportunity, but I want to start off from the very beginning. Why PFL again? Because I felt like for you, pretending I'm you for a second, I'm like, okay, I see a
Right.
fork in the road. And it's like I could either go back to a CFFC or a different regional promotion and probably fight for a title fight and either get on Contender or the UFC. And then
Right.
in the back of my mind, it's like, or I could potentially go into a place like Bellator or PFL right away after that knockout victory against Ian. So, can you kind of walk me through it? When did the PFL come in into the fold, and can you kind of give me a kind of behind the scenes look at kind of where your mind was at? Because I'm sure that you were thinking some of the exact same things I've just articulated.
Yeah, of course. So the PFL has been in and out of contact ever since my second fight, pretty much throughout my whole career. But we don't want to, really make any decisions until I felt like I was comfortable enough. So, the call came from the PFL, and I mean, there was no, thought about it. I didn't even have the opponent yet. They just said, hey, August 18th, Madison Square Garden. And it was a yes for me, like right then and there. So, that's pretty much what happened. They've been contacting my management, in and out. And then this time they came calling again. Couple months after the CFFC fight. And yeah, so I said yes, and here we are. Here we go. A couple weeks left.
Did the decision, Daquan, to sign with the PFL, was it easier to do because you've competed with them in the past with your experience on the Challenger Series and having the contact that you've had with them relatively early on in your career? Like, did that help make the decision a little bit easier?
It absolutely did. All the promotion that I fought for so far, they've been great. I don't have a bad thing to say about any of them, but the PFL was definitely different. And when I did compete in the Challenger Series, they treated me like great. It was really really cool to be there. The atmosphere was awesome. I got to meet some really cool staff on the PFL. So yeah, that was definitely a big decision helping me actually make the decision to go there. So yeah, it was cool.
I'd love to get your perspective on this. You're a very knowledgeable person. Like when we're not recording, I'm asking you questions about MMA. Like you're very knowledgeable. Like you're a person I could tell. It's like you're not just like this world class athlete. Like you have like a
Right.
business mind, and you kind of understand the
Of
big.
course.
And when you look at the PFL and what they're doing from a business standpoint, building their brand in Europe and building their brand in Africa, as a young fighter yourself, do you think like this promotion could have opportunities for you from a business perspective when your fighting career is over.
I absolutely do. And I've been telling everybody, I said, the PFL right now, I mean, they're making some of the biggest, business moves, for themselves and obviously the fighters too. So yeah, it's definitely, you know, been in my mind where it's like, okay, like this can be a great thing, and not only for myself, but for the also, the younger fighters or the fighters that are coming up in their career as well. And like you said, they're in Europe now, and they're going to be doing the PFL Africa. So it's given a lot of fighters more opportunities elsewhere. So I think that's really great. And for the fighters like myself and the other ones coming up, it's as a business standpoint, if you can get in there early, you could definitely do a lot with it. So
Is the format appealing to you as like a young fighter? Like you see the seasonal format and you see to yourself like the possibilities that potentially lie therein. Like, for example, in the UFC, you're not going to get a title fight unless you've been in that promotion for, a couple of years or you've had
right,
like some meteoric sort of rise. Like you have to put your time in. And with the
yeah,
PFL, it's more like a sports format where it's like the Cleveland Browns theoretically could make it to the Super Bowl every year. It's all outcome,
yeah,
right? And
exactly.
you have that sort of sporting element baked into the PFL format where it's like, hey, the only thing that matters is your performance. Do you have enough points? Did you get the wins? And if so, you advanced. And curious for your thoughts on just the seasonal format and if it has a certain special appeal to you.
I definitely like the idea. I like the idea for many reasons too. I mean, as MMA fighters, I mean, yes, we do train all year round. We don't stop. But, given the fact of, having the seasonal format where you're going to know when you're fighting, the date you're fighting, you're going to know who you're fighting. It gives more people opportunities to also spend time with their families and stuff when like, okay, the season doesn't start until this date. So, let me do this. I can still get my training in, but I go take some family time if we need to. So I think that's important. But also too, like you said, with the champions, and you could, with any other promotion, it might be pretty tough to, get that opportunity. But with the PFL and their seasonal format, if you get in, there's a very big chance where you can hold that belt. And like you said, it's the point system. So you're not have to just win the fight, but obviously you get the points and everything makes sense. You can hold the belt very soon. So yeah, I like it. I definitely like it a lot.
You train out of Killcliff FC, and then of course for the PFL, Elvin Espinosa, he trains there, and then of course Impa Kasanganai, he also trains there, and he has a big fight here later this week. And
Yeah.
when you think about it, like, are there like lessons learned, just kind of seeing your teammates in the PFL for an extended amount of time, particularly with Impa? You see what he did on the Challenger Series and how far he's advanced this year. Is there something that you could learn from his experience, just kind of being his teammate as you get ready to hopefully compete in the 2024 season?
Right. Yeah, no, Impa's, a great person. I've actually learned a lot from him. From the moment I actually got to Killcliff, he was one of the standout guys who came, introduced himself, and, really took the time to get to know me. And I was new at the time. So we've been conversating, here and there throughout the years. And it's definitely inspiring, because seeing him do it, right, and he's full force, it makes it believable for a lot of the other guys and myself to go on there and do it too. So yeah, no, it's awesome. I'm excited to watch him fight August 4th to get that win, and watch him fight for that belt and get that belt this year. So yeah, no, it's truly inspiring. And there's not a better person to be able to watch go through everything, just day-to-day life aspects, training to the fights. I mean, yeah, he's a great dude. So it's definitely awesome to be able to watch him do his thing.
Covering MMA for the past couple years that I have, I've been blessed to talk to people like you, elite prospects, some of the best fighters in the country that are maybe a fight or two away from getting to where you currently are. And I feel like I spend a bulk of my time talking about like, okay, well, what is it going to take for whoever I'm interviewing to maybe get to the PFL or to get to Bellator, to get to the UFC? And a lot of times, like when you watch interviews and you conversate with fighters, that's what the bulk of our conversations are about. Is like, what do
Right.
we do to make it? In your case,
Exactly.
I have a different question. It's what are you going to have to do to stay? Because this is a performance-based business, and they sign somebody like you. The
Yeah.
expectation is you deliver on the goods, right? And I'm just kind of in your mind, what is the key to having a long and successful career in the PFL?
For me, I think the key is showing up, being a professional from the moment, even before the contract, but from the moment the contract is signed until after, and you need to perform in there. They bring you on for a reason, and now it's your job to not only, win your fights and do it yourself, but also impress the people that are, investing you and taking the time to, send you the contract and sign it over. So yeah, that's really what I think is, you just go in there and you win your fights. If you could do it in an impressive way, even better, because that's what they like. And yeah, that's it. You just win your fights and do it in an impressive way if you can. And you should have no problem being able to stay. And that's exactly what I'm gonna do.
What's interesting about you is you're a very young guy, especially for a heavyweight. Like when I think of like heavyweight fighters, like I
Yeah,
stereotypically think of a guy that's 35 years old, probably was a light heavyweight at one point, and this is kind of
yeah.
like the final, handful of fights left before they ride off into the sunset. I stereotypically think about that, but
Mhm.
you're like that young new breed guy that's showing up and you look at the rest of this heavyweight division, like these guys have a ton of experience over you. And,
Yeah,
you're talking about guys that are, a good chunk of them are probably in their early 30s or mid 30s. And now that's the Shark Tank you're going to find yourself potentially in.
of
Like
course.
when you survey the PFL heavyweight division, like are there certain themes that kind of like stick out in your brain? Like what makes you think that, now's the time and you're ready to fight these big dogs?
Yeah. So ultimately it goes down to preparation. And being at Killcliff FC, I mean, I have the best, like the best of the best training partners in the world. So being with guys like Linton Vassell, Steve Maury, Victor Pesta, Emilio Sordi, he was, the PFL champion before. Just a bunch of really, really high level guys. And when you're with them every single day, and they tell you like, hey, like, you're doing great, like, that's how you know. It's more so when I'm able to do in the room with the best guys in the world. That's how I know that I'm ready to go. And I would take those guys over anybody. So yeah, so that them, being with them all day and every day, that's what gives me the confidence to be able to, no matter who it is or champ, whatever, like, we're ready to go. We'll prepare and we'll make it work.
Interestingly enough, for your card, we're going to find out which two heavyweights advance into the championship round. Those
Yeah,
there's going to be two heavyweight bouts that happen on the main card. It's going to be Goltzlaff versus Heiderman, and then Ferreira versus Crochet Boss. You look at those four. Is there like a guy that kind of sticks out in your mind? Like, do you kind of have like a prediction as who's going to win the whole thing, or like what are your thoughts in general about the final four for the heavyweights?
I think it's very interesting. I'm gonna be biased. I hope Jordan wins because he beat me. But also I wish him the best. He's a good dude, and we had a little few talks after the fight. But yeah, I think it's interesting. I couldn't tell you who I think is gonna go. I think they're all four of them are very, very solid, and a lot of their styles are different too. So I think that can come into play. So really, I don't know how it's going to happen, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see, what happens that night and see who goes to the championship. And I wish whoever it does, best of luck. And yeah, that's awesome.
You are going to be fighting UK heavyweight Louie Sutherland. This is a guy that I'm a little familiar with. He did
Yeah,
compete earlier on the Challenger Series. He picked up an impressive victory. He didn't get picked up to the PFL right away, but he's being brought into the fold now. What are
yeah.
some themes? What are some things that you see about Sutherland? Is there any element about his game that's kind of stands out at you?
Um, yeah. I mean, I think Louis is a pretty solid fighter. I think he has power. I think he's pretty strong. Um, I watched his last fight. He's, mixing it up pretty well. So yeah, I mean, I think it should be a good fight. You know, um, I don't really have much to say about the guy.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But I mean, I do know that he definitely has some power in his hands, and he has some like decent cardio. But yeah, I mean, I don't really think too much about it. You know what I mean? I watch the tape, I see what he does. But yeah, I think he's a tough guy. I know he's going to show up. Yeah, I got nothing for respect for Louie. It's just unfortunately, come August 18th, it's gonna be my night.
Are there any similarities between Louis and any of your other prior opponents?
Um, I would say maybe my third fight, or yeah, maybe oh no, yeah, my third fight, I'd say. They're both big guys. The dude was definitely a little bit like bigger than Louis,
Mhm.
because he was cutting down, and so he walked in at like 285. But then brawler type, heavy hands, athletic, big guys. So yeah, I would say if he was similar to any of them, I'd say which is my third one. But other than that, I mean, I have guys in the gym who are very, very similar. Heavy-handed, big. So yeah, we're prepared 100%.
You're heavy-handed, you're big, you're fast. Like a lot of people would laugh at me when if I said that, if I used that word to describe you, but you are deceptively fast. And
Yeah,
I think you showcased that in your last bout. You went out there and you popped that jab so quick.
yeah,
Uh, Nobody saw it coming. Your footwork is really good. And I think that's like the biggest thing about you that kind of surprised me when I watched you and I watched your old fights. I'm just kind of like, man, this guy is like, he's a big dude, but golly, he's fast for a heavyweight. And
yeah,
I think that kind of throws maybe some of your opponents off guard. Is like maybe like you're a lot faster than they may have anticipated. So
yeah.
I'd say like in my observation of watching you fight, that's a huge advantage. But are there any others that you think that you have over Sutherland that'll put you over the top?
Yeah, not to be arrogant or anything, but I know, wherever it goes, I'm just the better fighter. I'm the better striker. I hit harder. I'm faster. I have better cardio. And that's not to knock him at all, but it's the truth. When you watch his films, you watch my films. There is a difference, and there's levels to the game, and like I said, not disrespecting the man at all, but I'm just better everywhere. So yeah, come August 18th, you know what I mean? I'm gonna showcase my skills. We got a lot more. We've been working on a lot of things. So yeah, that's how I feel. I feel that no matter where it goes, I just think I'm better. So
For you, this is an advanced opponent in Madison Square Garden. It's going to be on ESPN. The entire country, the entire world is going to be watching this fight. And for a lot of people out there, it's going to be their very first time really figuring out kind of who you are. You could also say
right.
about Louis too. Like uh,
Yeah.
this is like a huge opportunity for both of you to show the world kind of what you're about. And for somebody who's tuning in for the very first time, who's going to watch you fight for the very first time, like what are some things that somebody at home that's going to be tuning in and hearing your name and seeing you fight for the very first time? What's one thing about yourself that you'd want them to know?
Um, Really, I would just want them to just, pay attention, watch the fight. You know what I mean? Watch it, tune in. That's all. I can't really tell them, too much of what that I want them to know. Um, I want to be able to do the work in there to where they'll form their own opinion, like, whoa, okay, like that guy is serious. And then they want to watch me, continue my career. So that's what I would say. I definitely want them to tune in and then kind of formulate their own opinion and be like, oh wow, like, you know, that guy's for real. So yeah.
Daiqwon, I wish you, sir, the absolute best of skill. The fight happens later on this month on August 18th. It'll be streaming worldwide, so make sure you get on ESPN and make sure you watch it. And I wanted to give you, Daiqwon, the final opportunity. Who are the people that you need to talk about? Who are the people that you need to thank before I let you go?
Yeah. Yeah, first, I would love to thank my family, friends, my sponsors. We had a new one, Cage Flicks and Karate's on Ash. They'll be my two official sponsors coming in for this fight. I'd also like to thank my training partners. Steve Mowry, especially. He's been a very, very big help to me. For my whole time actually being down here in Kill Cliff. So I definitely want to give him a special shout out. And I also want to thank my other teammates too, all the heavyweights, all the light heavyweights, and the guys that just helped me evolve as a fighter. I want to thank them as well. And I want to thank my management, my coaches. And thank you for putting me on.
Absolutely. Well, again, I wish you the absolute best of skill, and I look forward to having you back for the 2024 season, my friend.
Thank you, sir.